Hello, this is Tom, aka Gedeon here for Tabletop Taproom, and we had an interesting idea. I thought I would do the top 10 RPGs that I have never played, my top 10 that I've never played that I've always wanted to play. So these are RPGs that I was intrigued by and really wanted to play. I have two special mentions for RPGs that I've not really played, but technically I have. So I just want to say up front, thank you for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And I'm really excited to tell you about the Gloomer Games Clyde Caldwell edition of Mystic Days. It funded in like 80 hours, and it's rapidly closing in on, I have not checked, but it's rapidly closing in on double the funding goal. So this is very exciting. The Gloomer Games Clyde Caldwell edition of Mystic Days, but don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Professor Dungeon Master has to say.
Brought to you by Gloomer Games Mystic Days, the Caldwell Edition. The Kickstarter includes 4 hardbound books, Monsters and Mayhem, Magic and Treasure, Player's Book, and Adventure Guide. OSR style, 6 classic stats, no character classes, you build the character you want, no initiative to slow things down, no OP characters, and death is always on the table. You roll to cast, failure could lead to an explosive catastrophe, and every weapon is unique. Polearms get the place they deserve with every weapon having a reach modifier, and monsters are bestial and not humanized. With fantastic cover art by Clyde Caldwell, this is old school gaming the way you remember. Links below.
So that is Gloomer Games Mystic Days Clyde Caldwell Edition. And I want to tell you, it's really exciting what these guys are doing. And they've got some hot news coming about some miniatures that they're going to be releasing. And I'm very excited about this. So it's just a little teaser there. But moving right along, top 10 RPGs. You know that there's RPGs out there that you always wanted to play and you never got the chance. And that's the same is true for me. And so let's go to the share screen here, and my special mention number 1 is Traveler. Now, technically, I've played this because the good wife and I rolled up a bunch of characters, so we have technically played what's called the mini game, where you roll up a character and you can actually die during character creation because you have not lived until you died during character creation. It's like a rite of passage. I believe in this. You have to play Traveler. You must die at least one time during character creation. I'm sorry. I just believe in it. And so technically, I've played it because I played the minigame, but I've not really played Traveler. And this is a sci-fi RPG that has always intrigued me. So that is special mention number 1. Special mention number 2 is Middle-earth role-playing by Iron Crown Enterprises. Now, technically, I've played this game because I organized a group of like about 5 people, and I walked them through character creation. But one of the players was an arrogant, pushy person, and he was irritating everybody. He was irritating me. He was irritating all the players. He was telling all the players what to do. He was telling me what to do. I'm the game master. I've actually read the rules. And so we rolled up characters, and I trotted out the sample adventure from the rule book, from this particular rule book. And I started running it. And during the very first combat, his first dice roll, he fumbled. And so, of course, we go to the fumble table, and the fumble table said that he broke his weapon and injured himself. So I ruled, since he was using a bow, that he broke his bowstring and shot himself in the foot. And the other 4 players erupted in applause. And this player's fragile ego was so fragile that he left. He left right then and there. And that was the end of the game. So technically, I have played the game, but I've not really played it. But I've always found Middle-earth by Iron Crown Enterprises to be absolutely intriguing. Some of my favorite modules, I've purchased them And then I've actually downloaded the PDFs, technically illegally, I know, but I own the module, so I don't see the reason why I can't have the PDF and not have to do all the scanning and compiling of the PDF. But some of the most gorgeous maps, modules out there. I just absolutely love Middle-earth role-playing. But of course, also a fan of Middle-earth and Token. Read the books by my sophomore year of high school. I had read through The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings 14 times by the beginning of my sophomore year of high school. So definitely Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth role-playing is on my special mention list. Next up is Gaslight. This is Buck Surdou's Gaslight. And Chris Johnson has written this particular rule set. Now, this started out as a set of mass battle war game rules. And it was Gaslight stands for Glorious Adventures in Science, loosely involving generally historic times. It's an acronym for, and it's Gaslight. But it's steampunk, and it's classic 1800s steampunk. And I love 1800s steampunk. Absolutely love it. And I loved these rules. They came out with these little books. And so I was a war gamer first. I was back in the war gaming before I got back in the RPGs. And I thought, oh, these rules are cool. So I bought the mass battle rules, then I bought the skirmish rules, and then I figured, what the hey, buy the RPG. And I read the RPG. I thought, these are really good. I was really, and then I went and bought the American Civil War by Gaslight, basically 1800s, but it focuses more on the American Civil War. And then I went out and bought Pulp by Gaslight, which is kind of set 1920s. So if you wanted to do Indiana Jones, 1920s, 1930s, or if you wanted to do The Shadow or the Green Hornet, if you wanted to do that Pulp 1920s kind of adventure, this was the Pulp rules. So these were great. I bought all the rules. I loved them. I read them all. I loved them. I never got to play. I could never interest anybody in playing these rules. And then I went to Historicon in the mid-late 2000s. And I'm there and I go by a table and I see the Gaslight Compendium. And they had taken all these little books and compiled them into a compendium. And I bought it. Absolutely bought it. The problem is that I found the arrangement and the arrangement of the compendium confusing, and I didn't like it. I would much rather use the little white books than the big tome, the big hardcover tome, the compendium rules. Absolutely would rather use the little white books. So Gaslight is it's number 10. My top 10. Number 9, Paranoia. Absolutely fascinated by the artwork for Paranoia. And all the ads in Dragon magazine back in the day made me curious, but my local bookstore never carried it. And I never saw Paranoia until sometime in the mid-late 2000s on eBay. I bid on some Paranoia product and was like, oh, interesting game. You got to have the right set of players, I think, to play this game. Never found that right set of players to play Paranoia, but Paranoia is absolutely a fascinating game concept. And so that makes number 9 on my top 10 list. And then moving on from Toon, another RPG. Saw the ads in Dragon. Curious as hell, go to the bookstore, never carried at the bookstore, never saw this at the bookstore. Or if I did see it at the bookstore, I was too busy buying my copy of Dragon magazine, Fantasy Gamer, Science Fiction Gamer, a Middle-earth product. I was too busy buying other things if they carried it there. So I never saw Toon until the mid-late 2000s and eBay. And then I read the rules and I was like, okay. I don't know if I'm really down for this, but still, Toon makes the list at number 8. Then next up is a new RPG, Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. I'm kind of intrigued by this. I really want to sit in on a convention game for this game. And mostly it's because one of the player character classes is a cyborg robot, a cyborg of Ronald Reagan. So you've got the it's like the Terminator from Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. He's got the flesh on the outside of the robot, and it's Ronald Reagan. And I just think that's cool. And mostly it's nostalgia because Ronald Reagan was the first president I ever paid attention to as a kid, mostly because of the Iranian hostage crisis. It was big news. You couldn't escape it. And, you were concerned. And my father was on the Iranian hostage rescue mission that kind of failed because the president dictated what units would be there, and the Marine Corps helicopters sucked sand in their engine and fought it out their engine. They had no business being in the desert, but they were handpicked by the president. So, who are the generals to overrule the president, right? Anyhow, so there's some nostalgia there. I want to play the Ronald Reagan cyborg. That's what intrigues me about this game. No other character class in this game intrigues me, but the Ronald Reagan cyborg. I want to play Ronald Reagan cyborg, and then actually try to do, I want to do the voice. I don't do voices, but for this, I want to do the voice. So this makes number 7 on my list. And then number 6, Twilight 2000, another from Dragon Magazine ads. I saw the ads, totally intrigued. I read every ad every time I saw it. Totally intrigued by the concept for this game. And I've read up extensively on it, and just now I've discovered there's like a 4th edition. They keep changing, they keep advancing this because history passes by the events of Twilight 2000. There was a nuclear war, forces keep on, and so your player characters are NATO military trapped behind enemy lines in Warsaw, and they've got to escape to the ocean and try to get back to Britain, try to get back to the US. I was always fascinated by this. So Twilight 2000 always, but now I've learned there was a 2nd, 3rd edition, 4th edition where they because world history has passed by Twilight 2000 since it was originally set in 1997 when it came out in 1984, in a future that is now just an alternate timeline. They keep resetting the game, and the most recent 4th edition has come out in 2020. But I kind of think I want to go back to that 1st edition, Twilight 2000. I'm still intrigued by this game. I think it's a great concept. But again, never found players, never sat in a game. Number 5, D&D White Box, 0 edition D&D, just because. It's just because. I feel like at some point at a convention, I need to sit in on a 0 edition D&D game, and just to say I played it, just to have that experience. So that makes my number 5 on my list. Number 4 is actually Frank Chadwicks, Frank Chadwicks Space 1889. Now, I was always intrigued when I first heard this Space 1889 because I had been a huge fan of Space 1999 as a kid, the sci-fi show. But this is set in the 1800s. This is steampunk 1800s, and it's very British-centric. But if you bought some of the fan magazine materials that have been published, like I did, and read up on them, you didn't have to be British-centric. They wrote into the history that the American Civil War, some of the rebels, some of the Confederates escaped to Venus and had, established the Confederate government there. So I found that very fascinating, set on Venus. And you had the Germans that colonized Venus. So it was a very interesting thing that they'd done with Venus. Plus, one of the things that I really liked about this game that always intrigued me was that clearly they have ripped off Star Frontiers Usarians, and everybody knows I love Star Frontiers. Star Frontiers Usarians for the High Martians on Mars. And I mean, what's more to like? I've actually read, now I know that there are some more recent editions of Space 1889, but I'm interested in Frank Chadwicks. I have the hardcover rule book, Space 1889, and the rule set. I think the rule set's really elegant. I like the developing inventions rules. You can actually invent rules in the game, get a patent, get an invention, get a patent on it, and then have income from that. I love those ideas. I love the artwork in the original Frank Chadwicks Space 1889. And again, they have Usarians. They've ripped off Usarians for this RPG. I freaking love that. So, I mean, what's not to like? So that made number 4. Number 3, I have not played Call of Cthulhu. Absolutely fascinated by Call of Cthulhu. There is, in fact, an octopus hanging on the wall here. I bought it at a flea market, hung it on the wall. It's there for being, Call of Cthulhu-esque. Absolutely fascinated. And now I've learned there's things like Call of Cthulhu Invictus, because my buddy Oscar Rios of Golden Goblin Games has the license to produce Call of Cthulhu Invictus, which is kind of like ancient Rome and Britain and on the European continent. And I'm absolutely fascinated by Call of Cthulhu. Never played it. Need to at some point. So that makes number 3. Number 2 on our countdown is, take that one down. There we go. Stars Without Number. This is the revised edition. I only have first edition. I have not purchased the revised edition, the second edition. I loved the first edition. It was elegant. It was like you took BX D&D rules and converted them to a sci-fi setting. And that's Stars Without Number. It's super elegant. It's super smart. What's been done with these rules. Kevin Crawford is probably brilliant. He rates as brilliant for what he did with these. And if you buy the actual, not the free version, because there was a free download version, it was just enough for a player to play the game. But if you bought the whole document, it was a Game Master's toolbox. There was all the stuff that was in there for the Game Master. It was just absolutely elegant document. I've bought a number of Stars Without Number products. Loved every single one of them. I've not played the game. Not found the players to play the game. So this makes number 2 because I was really absolutely fascinated by it. And number 1, and I'm surprised this happened, and it was I made a list of all the RPGs that I'd never played that I really wanted to play at some point. And I kept saying, all right, well, would I rather play this game over the rest? And so, all right, so that made number 10. And all right, so yeah, I'd rather play the rest than this game. So that's how I did it. And in the end, I ended up with Gamma World, first edition, at number 1. And the reason why I was intrigued with Gamma World was, number 1, this cover. This is a killer cover for Gamma World. This inspired me, but also this module. This Gamma World, Famine and Fargo. And I'll tell you why. It's this girl over here with the stop sign as a shield on this none of the mutants intrigued me. Just the fact that she was carrying a stop sign as a shield always inflamed my imagination. This intrigued me, this module cover. I mean, all right, there's a giant mutant chicken back here killing their robot. That's kind of interesting, but it was the damn stop sign always intrigued me. I just found that fascinating. And so I've always been fascinated by Gamma World and bought Gamma World product on eBay, I think a year ago. But that makes, and just because of the way I just all right, do I want to play this one more than these? No. So I'm surprised Gamma World ended up as number one. And I specifically mean first edition, primarily on the strength of this one cover right here with that stupid stop sign. You know, I mean, it just inflamed my imagination. So that is my top 10 list. Do you have RPGs that you've never played that have always fascinated you've always wanted to play? If you have, comments on it below. But also, I encourage you, get out to a convention. Get out to a convention. See if that game is being played and get in that game. Because I'm going to ShireCon and I can tell you, Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland is being played there. I missed out on getting in that game. There's some first edition games being played there. I ended up not getting in those. I wanted to sign up for Swords and Wizardry Light because I suspected Eric Tenkar was running that game. So get out to a convention. Sign up for games you haven't played. Give them a whirl. Purchase them on eBay. Read the rules. Check them out. Maybe you'll get in a play by post, play by email. It's still valid. Still a valid playing of the game. So this is Tom for Tabletop Taproom signing out, encouraging you to keep on gaming. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And again, keep on gaming and try a game you have never played before.